I can't believe... I cannot believe that just happened. I can't believe OBS disconnected on me just like that. Hold on. Okay, first of all, it's loud. Okay, react. Haven't done this in a while. I want to show this off real quick because I think it's important. I'm gonna have to turn on the desktop audio. And you guys are gonna hear an echo from me because I got like literally got two, because my desktop audio picks up on my mic too, so you're hearing an echo.
Everyone always goes on about how hard Jak 2 is, and often in reviews of the game, it's one of the biggest criticisms. Oh, there's not enough checkpoints, oh, the game is unfair at times. I'm here to tell you that you're all playing the game wrong. Cause, let me ask you, when you
That is true. That is true. A lot of people complain about the checkpoints, even me. I do agree that there's a bit not enough checkpoints throughout Jak 2, but there's still checkpoints. There's a fair amount at least. But yeah, I do agree, Jak 2 should have had a bit more checkpoints.
watch these reviews from the people who criticize the difficulty, or maybe when you play the game yourself, what is the one common thing that you see? Jump, spin, shoot.
Exactly.
Every time. I see reviewers say this is the dominant strategy of the game, meaning it's the optimal way to play and there's
Who the fuck is saying that? The optimal way to play. Who the hell is saying that? Buddy, here's the thing. When I played Jak 2, do you know what happened? I actively avoided using guns because I didn't want to run out of ammo for some reason. Even though this game gives you a shitload of ammo. No joke. Like, I would do melee playthroughs in practically every game I played while growing up. Even if it gave you a crap ton of ammo. Because for some reason, I was too conservative with my ammo. I should have been using guns more. Anyways.
no other strategy better to use, but also say how hard the game is. If you fall into this category, I'm here to tell you, you're playing the game wrong. Now when
Yes, this is even something I went over in my Jak 2 playthrough. During my Jak 2 stream, I literally showcased multiple strategies you can use to to win, to literally beat the game.
I say you're playing the game wrong, I mainly mean the gunplay and combat, the stuff you'll be doing most of the time. When it comes to things like the races and stuff like that, yeah, those are very challenging, but they just take a lot of practice. First things first,
Yep.
Stop doing this. Not only does this make your footage look terrible, but it also just does not help a lot of the time. To prepare for this video, I played through the entire game doing this. Every single encounter I just used this strategy, and once I ran out of ammo with the blaster, I did it with the other guns. This is how I played through the entire game. Now I will admit, there were a few stages where I did perfectly fine, but some stages were really difficult to get past using this strategy, so just stop.
Yep, I knew he was gonna use the slums, thing. I knew he was gonna use the slums as an example.
Before we go through each gun, let's take a look at Jak's combat capabilities overall.
Yeah, this is something that not many people realize, but there's literally other combinations you can do with guns. The the Vulcan Fury literally gives you the ability to stun lock enemies. The shotgun, the scatter gun, is literally a shotgun you use for close range combat and for taking out multiple enemies at once. Why are people still using the jump and spin with the blaster? Stop doing that. In fact, you should be using a punch and shoot strat with the blaster instead. I don't understand this.
Jack's base moveset has a couple attacks: the forward lunging punch, a spin kick which does damage all around him, an uppercut, and a ground slam. Admittedly, the uppercut and ground slam aren't the most useful moves for combat, but they are handy additions that do see their uses. Jack sports 4 guns: the Scattergun, Blaster, Vulcan Fury, and the Peacemaker. Each have their own uses, which I'll get into later, but what I love about these weapons is the fact that they integrate with Jack's moves. The game encourages you to play aggressively, get up close with your enemies, and take them out quickly.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing, exactly. Not many people realize this. Not many people realize this. All you have to do to beat these guys is to literally be aggressive. If you have the scattergun, just get up close and blast their heads off. If you have the blaster, you can take them out from a distance, but it's best to get up in their face, punch, and then shoot. I can't believe that this is actually a discussion we have to have.
This is the case because each gun, aside from the Peacemaker, can be comboed with Jack's punch or spin to make things quicker and deadlier.
Yes.
If you hit an enemy then fire with the Scattergun, it skips the slow reload animation. When hitting an enemy then firing with the blaster, it shoots 3 shots in rapid succession, which devastates most enemies.
Exactly. I don't see many people utilizing this strat. You should be using this strat a lot.
And when hitting an enemy then firing the Vulcan Fury, it skips the slow ass wind up and starts firing at full speed right away.
Yes, 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 thank you, someone else said it. You can literally skip the wind up by just with a punch. I'm surprised that so many people actually forget about this strat. You should be using that technique.
These moves will prove themselves to be essential when playing this game. Not only do they have awesome damage output by combining melee attacks with your weapons, but they also stun the enemies really effectively, so
yes,
there's no way for them to counterattack. Okay, so now we're going to go through each gun and discuss their uses and when it's appropriate to use them. The Scattergun is low-key my favorite gun in the game. It is super versatile and there's plenty of scenarios where using it is the best strategy. While it does start very slow when you first get it, once you get the rate of fire upgrade, that problem goes away. This isn't to say that you should use this gun for every enemy, but it's surprising how much use you can get out of it when a lot of people say it's the worst gun in the game. The Scattergun fires a short-ranged...
Who the hell said the scattergun's the worst gun in the game? Who the fuck is saying that? They are idiots. Who's the idiot that said that the scattergun's the worst gun in the game? It is by far from the worst. In fact, I don't think any of them are the worst. I think they all are great. I think all the guns in the game are great. Technically all the guns are the same gun because the Blaster, Vulcan Fury, and the Peacemaker are just modifications for the scattergun, but anyway, that's a story for another day. Pretty much. Yeah, the scattergun's probably the most useful one because it takes out groups of enemies all at once. It hits multiple enemies. The blaster, sure, you can do the spin attack, but the thing is that if you're just firing it normally, yeah, you're only going to hit one guy at a time. The scattergun doesn't need any special spin or anything to hit multiple enemies. In fact, if you use the spin attack with the blaster, you're going to use up more ammo. You're going to waste more ammo.
but extremely wide shot. This means you don't need to be very accurate as long as you're pointing in the enemy's general direction. What this also means is it can damage multiple enemies at once, which is great news when you're encountering a lot of small one-hit enemies. These kinds of enemies love to spawn in groups.
Yes, thank you for demonstrating.
And they're often pretty slippery bastards, so trying to accurately aim your guns can be a bit of a challenge against these guys. Which is why, using the scattergun is the best way to go about attacking them. You don't need to be accurate. But when firing against bigger enemies, like the metalhead grunts, it does a great job at stunning them by making them fly backwards a bit, so while they are getting up, you have a little extra time to take them out, or survey your surroundings and figure out the best strategy for the situation. So bottom line, the scattergun is good for taking out groups of enemies, especially the smaller ones. But because most of the bigger enemies go down in 2 hits, punching then firing is an effective strategy to deal with them quickly.
Yeah.
If you find yourself never using the scattergun in your playthroughs, try experimenting with it a bit more. Next is the blaster, the gun people...
So yeah, look at that. The guy literally showed you multiple examples of the scattergun being useful. In fact, in my playthrough, I actually found the scattergun to be the most useful. One of the most useful ones. I found it more useful than the blaster. The blaster, sure, it takes them out at a distance, and yes, you can do the spin attack to attack them if you're surrounded. But the thing is, the scattergun's just more effective because it uses less ammo, and it hits more enemies. It especially is great for those slippery little, for those smaller enemies that swarm around you. I don't understand how people think the scattergun's so useless when there's multiple scenarios where it's very useful. Are people even playing the game correctly? Do the people even pay attention to the instructions the game directly gives them?
People say is the only useful one. And sure, it fits most combat encounters, but that doesn't make it the best option. This is the gun most people... Sure, it fits most combat encounters quickly. If you find yourself never using the scattergun in your playthroughs, try experimenting with it a bit more. Next is the blaster, the gun people say is the only useful one. And sure, it fits most combat encounters, but that doesn't make it the best option. This is the gun most people jump, spin and shoot with. And like we said earlier, this move just isn't very reliable and is downright terrible in certain scenarios. Let's discuss the strategy for a moment. The reason people think it's the best strategy is because it fires shots in all directions, and it also acts as a dodge, because you're up in the air and any enemies that come close will get whacked with the spin kick. Sure, that sounds like a good strategy. Unfortunately, it's just not always effective. The biggest problem with it is the random nature of the attack. You have no control over where the bullets go or what enemies you hit.
Exactly. Like, the thing is that when you're spinning and shooting, you have no control over where the gun is shooting. Whenever you're spinning, the gun could shoot off in the wrong direction and not hit anybody. And not only that, yeah, it is true that if they get too close, they'll get kicked. The thing is, not every enemy is a melee enemy. Some of the enemies have guns themselves. Example, and you're literally looking at the first example, the slums. Most of the guards in the slums have guns and can shoot you from a distance. Not only that, but putting yourself up in the air is a bad idea because 1, you move slower, and 2, you're pretty much a still target. You're pretty much a perfect target for them. In fact, you should be spending most of the time on the ground because it's easier to move around and dodge. And secondly, you have an easier time switching between weapons and using different strategies.
Leaving yourself at the game's mercy instead of relying on your own skill. And it doesn't act as a very good dodge either, at least when it comes to ranged enemies, as they typically shoot you while you're in the air, so
Yeah, literally what I just said. Literally what I just said.
You're still very vulnerable. This is also a surefire way to get rid of all your ammo, and I don't think I need to tell you that's a bad thing. Like I said earlier, if you hit an enemy then fire, you'll send out 3 shots at once, which devastates most enemies. When using the blaster, this is the strategy you want to use for most of the time. It's also the best gun to use at long range, so if you want to pick off enemies from a distance, use this gun normally. So while this gun can fit any combat encounter, I'd save it for the medium to larger sized enemies, like Crimson Guards or Grunts. The Vulcan Fury is a gun that can see heaps of use, but can also fall by the wayside. The reason is it can be switched out with the blaster in most occasions. There are definitely times when using one or the other is more useful, but for the most part, you can switch them out whenever. It just depends on your playstyle. Here are some
Yes, this is literally the scenario where I used the Vulcan Fury. I didn't even like look up any tutorials. I just knew that the Vulcan Fury was the best gun in that scenario.
times when using the Vulcan is preferred. When against these guys, the Sling Blasters, you'll want to use the Vulcan every time. These guys shoot pretty long range, they have pretty good aim, and they take a lot of hits. So the optimal way to deal with these guys is to stun lock them with the Vulcan and rip into them. When shooting an enemy with the Vulcan, it stun locks them, which prevents them from counter-attacking. These guys are usually in groups of enemies as well, so if you spray the Vulcan everywhere, each bullet will temporarily stun each enemy, making it harder for them to reach you, while also causing them damage. The Vulcan is also good for groups of
Usually it only takes 3 bullets from the Vulcan to kill Crimson Guard, but the thing is though, the fact that you can stun lock all of them, just spray and stun lock all of them and kill them all in just a few bullets, that's very useful. In fact, I don't agree with his opinion on it falling on the wayside, because here's the thing, there's so many scenarios where it's just better. It's basically the Blaster 2.0 in my opinion. That's just my opinion though. I think it's just basically Blaster 2.0.
bigger enemies. Crimson Guards and Spider Gunners are good to use the Vulcan against, as the stun lock capability of the gun works wonders against them, especially when they're in groups, and especially since they're long range enemies. The Vulcan can also be used against groups of one-hit enemies like a scattergun, but that's usually a waste of ammo. The last gun to look at is the Peacemaker.
I honestly don't think you should ever use the Vulcan Fury to take out swarms of enemies. Again, because Scattergun go burr, but also, yeah, like he said, waste of ammo.
Fortunately, this gun doesn't see too much use. There's no real strategy to using this one like the other three, you kinda just use it when you're in a tight spot, or you need to preserve ammo. But it is a crazy powerful weapon, taking out most enemies in one hit. So in the later stages of the game, if there's a ton of enemies, the Peacemaker is something to consider using. Just don't use it against these guys, as it doesn't do much damage, if any. Also just
Ooh, I think I broke that rule. Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't play Jak too much as a kid because, one, I didn't have enough room on my memory card, and I didn't know that you could erase things from the memory card. So, I was basically playing the game on, like, no save file at all. So I didn't know that the Peacemaker doesn't do anything.
be careful, as ammo for this one can be a bit rare compared to the other guns. So there's all the guns. Now what I
Basically, the Peacemaker is just the BFG for Jak 2.
want to do is show you a specific mission and walk you through how to deal with it using this new knowledge. One of the hardest missions I had to get through when I played through the game only jump spin shooting was protect site in Dead Town. I spent so long on this mission, I kept running out of ammo, a lot of my shots were missing the targets, and I was getting creamed. When capturing footage for this video,
Look at that. If you slow it down, you can actually see how many shots are missing. Look. It took him 2 jump spins to kill that guy. And during those jump spins, he wasted like, what, 5? One bullet hit the target while the other 4 just shot in the wrong direction. He did 2 jump spins, 5 bullets per spin, so that's 10 bullets. 2 of those bullets hit the guy, so that's 2 minus 2. The other 8 bullets just flew off in different directions, not hitting anything. So yeah, you just wasted ammo.
it took me over 40 minutes to beat this mission using this strategy. So let's take a quick look at what this looks like.
40 fucking minutes? Dude, this mission could be completed in like just 10. Look at that, he got 2 shot in the air. No, that is not a dodge, that is a sitting duck right there. Look at that, shot midair. Sorry if that's a bit loud for you guys. Look how much ammo he ran out just by using that strategy. Look at that. Every time he kept running out of ammo and he kept getting hit mid-air. So no, it's not a good... So that disproves two things. One, it is not a good, viable strategy. And two, it is not great for conserving ammo. And three, it's not a dodge at all. In fact, if anything, you're a sitting duck if you do that. Everyone knows that when it comes to combat, you never want to be in the air because you can't move. People forget that when you're in the air, you can't control anything. You're stuck going in the direction you were propelled in. You can ask any martial artist that, and they will tell you to always be on the ground. You want to stay grounded. Because one, you don't have wings. You can't move. You want to be on the ground and never get knocked into the air because then you're just at the mercy of the guy punching you. Look at that. Right as he got ammo, he did the spin, landed, shot 2 bullets, none of them hit, and he got shot.
Now let's walk through this stage, using our new knowledge of how to use the guns. First up are these stingers. There's a small group of them, so scattergun is your best option here. Just a couple shots to take them all out. Next we have some grunts. Now here's where you have a couple options. You can either use the blaster, take them out with the Wastelander move, or you can stick to the scattergun, which pushes them off the ledge into the water. Either option is viable. Personally, I use the blaster as sometimes they don't fall off, which is a tad annoying. Next we have a sling blaster and some more grunts, one of which is on one of these platforms blocking our way. So there is a number of things we could do here, none of them are wrong, but here's what I like to do. I pull out the Vulcan and start making my way down the platforms. When I get to the one with a grunt on it, I spin as I land above it, causing it to fall into the water. At this point, I have a bunch of options. I can stick to this platform and kill the sling blaster and grunt, then jump down. Another option is to switch to the blaster and try to get up close to the sling blaster and use the Wastelander move on it. Or I could just stick to the Vulcan, jump down, and fire away at.
I like how these moves have names. Yeah, I think if you go into the game's options menu or something and look at the combos, you can actually see the names of these combos.
Them, dodging any attacks. Another option could be to use the scattergun and try to fling them into the water, which would save a lot of Vulcan ammo. There's loads of options here, some are riskier than others, but they're all viable. Here we have a health pack if we need, then we're up against 2 more sling blasters and a ton of stingers. Here is a situation where we could use Dark Jack if we had it. If not, stick to the Vulcan, as it will take out all the stingers while you're trying to take out the slings. You'll also need to move around a lot as well, dodging shots from the slings and also making sure the stingers don't gang up on you. Spin the...
Look how quick of work that is. Watch, you know what, time that.
Some are riskier than others, but they're all viable. Here we have a health pack if we need, then we're up against 2 more sling blasters and a ton of stingers. Here is a situation where we could use Dark Jack if we had it. If not, stick to the Vulcan.
Watch how fast he clears that place.
As it will take out all the stingers while you're trying to take out the slings. You'll also need to move around a lot as well, dodging shots from the slings and also making sure the stingers don't gang up on.
How many seconds was that? Like 5, 7? 5 seconds, 7 seconds? That was so fast. Seriously, why aren't people just using the Vulcan to clear places? Seriously, are people really this dumb when it comes to games? You would think that the people playing these games are game journalists or something, but no. These are actually people claiming that's the only good strategy.
Spin the stingers away when needed as well. You don't want them hitting you, because if they do, you'll likely get zeroed in by the slings, which will leave you open to getting hit by the stingers, and you're pretty much dead. So mainly focus on getting rid of all the stingers first, stay on the move, and just let loose with the Vulcan. Another way to deal with this encounter is to make sure to dodge every shot from the slings, and take care of all the stingers with the scattergun, then switch to the Vulcan for the slings. This will also preserve your Vulcan ammo a bit if you need to. Once they're taken care of, I like to use the scattergun to deal with these grunts as they'll almost always fall into the water. Next we have a few stingers running around, a rapid gunner blocking the way forward, and a bunch of pillars for cover. Use these. You'll want to make your way as close to the gunner as you...
Yes, that's exactly what I did. You guys can watch my playthrough on my VODs channel, but pretty much, yeah, I just used the pillars. When this guy was spraying me, I just hid behind the pillars for cover. It's that easy.
This makes it a lot easier to get an accurate aim at him. You'll want to use the Vulcan again as you want to stun him. Make your way around these pillars, killing any stingers you come across, then take him out. You can just start shooting at him from a distance, that does work, but because the auto aim is a bit hit or miss, especially with the Vulcan, it's pretty easy to miss him and get creamed by his fast firing shots.
Yes.
Next, a group of grunts will come at you all at once. You can either keep using the Vulcan or use the Blaster's Wastelander move. I personally use the Blaster here.
I think the scattergun would also be useful here because you could just hit all of them at once.
To try and preserve my Vulcan ammo, but if you have enough ammo to use, then use it by all means. Just make sure you bait them out of this doorway, because hiding around the corner is another gunner who will tear you up fast.
Yes.
Once the grunts are taken care of, get out your Vulcan. What I like to do is start firing for a second before walking into the room and aiming for him. That way, the shots have already started speeding up by the time they hit him, and I also find it easier to aim this way. After he's taken care of, there's another one around the corner at the top of some stairs. Do the same thing you just did before. Maybe jump around a bit to try and avoid his shots, but make sure you're still facing him. After this, we'll enter a room with some grunts that will try to flank you. Get out the blaster and wasteland the suckers. Be careful not to miss any of these guys, they can sneak up on you. Just do a quick check of the room before you leave. Get out your...
Yeah, and as you just saw, in that scenario, it made sense to use the spin attack then.
Scattergun before you leave, as these stingers can also sneak up on you. Take them all out before going around the corner. Here is what you've been preserving your Vulcan ammo for. 2 last sling blasters. Just tear into them with a Vulcan, making sure to switch targets periodically to keep them both stunned until they choke. And there we go, mission complete.
Wait, hold on, let's see. So we started at like 12 something. Like 12:39, 12:40, it doesn't matter. 14:56. So that's 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Holy shit. If you use the spin attack, it took him 40 minutes to do it with the spin shoot move, but here he just completed it in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. This is why you learn these tactics, people. This is why you sit down and learn how to play the game, people. Yeah. Here's the whole playthrough.
You'll want to keep healthy, Jack, or who'll do the fighting?
Look at that. Of course, he's not going to get a medal. He's just doing this for demonstration. I'm just going to show you guys how easy this is. Or more like he would. look at that. Look at that. He made short work of it. That's how quick it is. All you guys were over here struggling with the tactics when all you had to do was what he just showed you. All you had to do was make use of the other guns.
Now, I didn't plan out this strategy for the whole mission. I just observed my surroundings and what enemy types I'm going up against and changed my strategy accordingly. This is the same for every mission. I don't have anything pre-planned, everything is just observation and knowing what to do. Before we wrap this up, here are some other tips.
Yeah, dude, this is probably, he probably said that as a little jab, but yeah. All you have to do is just observe the situation, and all you have to do is pay attention to what's going on, and then just react accordingly.
I didn't talk about Crimson Guards in this video, but they are pretty dangerous in groups, which is why the docks mission is so hard. It was one of the
docks mission. I call it the slums mission because it was there, but yeah. The docks mission. I was looking for a description for that. I'm glad someone described it. Yeah. Everyone keeps saying it's super hard, and yeah, you are right, it is hard, but there's still a viable strategy for you. You can just simply make use of the Vulcan Fury here.
Hardest missions in the game using this strategy. It took me at least an hour. Here is how to deal with Crimson Guards. What you need to know about them is every guard's first few shots will miss.
What did you say?
This strategy. It took me at least an hour. Here is how to deal with Crimson Guards.
It took him an hour to complete this mission with that one strategy. An hour. It should not be taking you an hour to complete a mission like that.
What you need to know about them is every guard's first few shots will miss. It's the third or fourth shot that will be a guaranteed hit. So what you need to do in this mission especially...
Wait. So it's always guaranteed to hit on the third or fourth? Huh.
Is take note of the bullets that fly past you and determine what direction they're coming from. Make sure you take out the guard that's firing them before they manage to land a hit. Basically, the whole mission consists of making sure there's no guards close to you who can damage you, and managing all the guards around you, making sure you don't focus on one specific group of guards until they're gone, but rather periodically focusing on every group so they don't land any hits. I hope I explained this well. The footage you're seeing now should make it easier to understand. I found this mission suits the blaster and especially the Vulcan pretty well, but I haven't experimented with the scattergun much. Just thinking about it, it would be a cool strategy to blast the whole group of guards straight into the water.
Yeah, that's actually what I try to do. I actually did use the scattergun in this mission, and it's actually very effective. It's actually more effective than the blaster. The blaster only hits one enemy at a time, while the scattergun and Vulcan can just spray them down. The Vulcan can spray them down, while the scattergun just... well, it just goes burr.
You guys can experiment, let me know how it goes. Some other general tips are, if you're in a cinch, punching is a great way to get some distance between you and your enemies, while doubling as an attack. Make sure you hold the square button instead of just pressing it, otherwise you won't go very far. And to add to this...
Oh, I forgot about that strategy. I forgot about that one. Yeah, I forgot about that. Holding down the button, yeah, it gives you more strategy. I forgot about that.
Point, don't forget about your melee attacks. Sometimes using your gun isn't necessary. For instance, if you've just fired off a bunch of scattergun rounds on some stingers, but there's only one left running towards you.
Yeah, I never knew about holding down the punch button until earlier last year. I didn't know that you could hold down the punch button and get distance.
Just hit it, it'll save you ammo. Also, just being very aware of your surroundings is very important. If the mission has stingers that spawn, like the strip mine for instance, being very aware of what's behind you is important. Also, listen for any enemies, as they all make themselves known through sound.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I wrap this up, I do need to acknowledge a few things. One is, yes, I have played the game hundreds of times, so I have each mission and enemy placement memorized.
Not me. I've played the game I've only done 2 playthroughs before the streams. My streams were my third playthrough of the game, and I'll say this is that, and all I will say is, the game isn't that hard as people make it out. It is hard, but it's not as hard. So no, I haven't played it hundreds of times, yet I was able to complete, in my third playthrough, I was able to complete the game super fast despite not playing it for years. Despite the second playthrough not happening years ago, possibly even a decade ago. Over half a decade ago, yet yet on my third playthrough I was able to beat the game so well because I just made use of the guns.
So it could look like I'm making it look easier than it really is. But I don't agree with this statement, for the most part. Yes, my prior knowledge would help in certain scenarios, like here in Deadtown, these gunners are hiding around the corner. But it only takes a new player a single encounter with the enemy for them to know the gunner is hiding there. Secondly, yes, the game doesn't do a good job at all of teaching you this hidden combat depth. It does teach you the Wastelander move very briefly, but if they had a specific enemy type that needed to be taken down with the move, that would have really cemented the move into the player's mind. Third,
yeah, I do agree. This game doesn't really do a good job of teaching you about the gun and about the gun combos.
I'm not saying this is the only way anyone should play Jak 2. You can play the game however you like. Hell, I've beaten it with no guns a couple times, before Keith ever did too. If all you want to do is jump, spin, shoot...
Yeah, I've actually that's literally what I did one time on my first playthrough, because I was too conservative with ammo. I was too afraid of running out of ammo.
And you're having a great time, then by all means play that way. This is mostly to show everyone the hidden depth of Jak 2's combat, and for anyone who struggles with the combat or doesn't find just jump spin shooting very fun. So I encourage all of you to take these tips on how to use each gun and apply it to your own playthroughs. And again, there's no optimal strategy for every mission. You can experiment and play around with your own strategies that suit you better. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I really hope you'll start trying to play like this. Weapon switching in appropriate situations is so much fun, and is why I...
One thing I want to point out about the docks mission is that during my stream, I didn't complete the first try, or even the second try. It took me a couple tries, but I definitely beat it in less than an hour. I probably beat it in less than an hour. But yeah.
love Doom Eternal so much. Let me know how you guys go in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences with this playstyle. But just let me reiterate this point. Jak 2 is deeper than most people think if you put in the effort, and I strongly encourage you do. Cheers for watching everyone, subscribe if you're new and you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.
Honestly, Power Cells, you know what? Hold on. Yeah. Let me read the comments real quick. Jak and Daxter veterans. You use the guns? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I actively avoided the guns back then. The infamous onslaught in the shantytown. I realized that if I had every other weapon ammo count maxed out, I could only get ammo pickups for the Vulcan Fury, which can stun like enemies. Makes that fight a lot easier. Oh, I did not know that. Firing your weapon after rolling, uppercutting, or during a roll jump will auto-lock onto the nearest enemy. Oh, I think I figured that one out. This has never been rocket science. Red scatter gun. Used for shooting multiple... Look at this guy. Red scatter gun. Used for shooting multiple enemies at close range, especially weaker ones, and useful for stun locking enemies. DL Buster. Jack of all trades. Deals decent damage. Useful for taking out medium-sized enemies at any range. Blue Volcafury, more complex gun to use. Is best used against very dangerous, very powerful enemies because it stunlocks them. But also good if there are groups of dangerous weapons, dangerous enemies that you don't want to get close to. He said weapons, but I think he meant enemies. Dark Peacemaker, the nuclear option, kills most everything in range. Basically the BFG of the game. Yep, exactly. Really blows my mind how people couldn't figure this out. I figured these tips out just by playing with the combat. The hardest part of the game is, to me, is the driving hoverboard, and that's about it. Yeah, pretty much. Thank you. It really frustrates me when heaps. It frustrates me heaps when they're just like, just jump, spin, and shoot. I'll admit, in Jak 3, that strategy is more effective with the reflective blaster shots, but not in Jak 2. Yeah, that strategy is mainly effective with the reflect modification. I don't get why are people obsessed with the spin strategy? It's not that effective. Just make use of the tools you have. Basically, the strategy just boils down to using the tools in your arsenal. By the way, go subscribe to PowerCell Zeke if you haven't already, because this guy, he's got it down. Anyway, let's see. Let me look at a couple, the React playlist. Okay, hold on.
Who needs safety?
So here's a short from Zentria. Hold on. I should probably change the stream information to just chatting.
Who needs safety shorts? I'm not a pussy.
1 hour later.
Chair is best. Chair.
Oh. Guys, quick question, someone wouldn't happen to have the, uncensored clip for any reason, right? Why am I asking? No reason, just curious, also may or may not slip $100 to the person who sends me the video. Got a crisp 100 right here for the person who sends me the uncensored. Okay.
K. Grab the arm. Hold on.
Tries to suplex her new crash.
I'm trying to... Freaking!
Okay. Wait, what the hell was that?
K. Grab the arm. Hold on. I'm trying to... Freaking!
Whoa!
Don't try this at home.
I just saw the gates of heaven. Oh, yo! Zam, bro!
Isn't that just Yokozuna's bonsai drop?
What if I decided?
Okay. Zam, bro. Zam, bro. I saw the gates of heaven, bro.
What if I decided to be a kitty? Meow. Yeah, I knew you guys would like kitties. Don't worry, I won't make a mess. I'll clean up all the spilt milk. Clean. No, it's not. It's the maid cafe. I
Dude,
want to go
my-
swimming. I love the ocean.
Okay, well, we just saw that.
I have lots of ocean memories. Do you want the funny one or the magical one?
I want both.
Me too. I want both.
Well, that time that they made me ride a bike in front of 50 kids and I kept falling over to the point that they gave up on me, I went to the water and then a bunch of dolphins swam up. And so I was just hanging out with dolphins because there was like a little rock outcropping and I was just chilling with the dolphins.
That's cute.
The funny time was we were walking along the beach and a manta ray flattened my sister.
I'm sorry.
Big pancake ocean thing, and she was
Damn,
screaming.
that's
It was really
crazy.
funny.
Stop using
Hooray.
my full name.
Miss Rose.
My name is
J.
Rose.
Doodle.
Jay.
Mine is also J because people call me BJ Pup when I'm on the DJ set.
BJ Pup. Well, I know where you can give a BJ. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, wink, nudge, wink, winker, nudge, 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 ducker, wink, wink, nudge, 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 winker, nudge.
DJ stands for disc jockey, so
Yeah.
what does BJ stand for, Buff?
Jerky.
Blowing joints, blowing jocks.
You're telling me blowing gives me a job? Alright. I think I'll look at one more and then I'll call it quits.
Well, time to skedaddle. Look on the bright side.
We have 2 minutes.
Now we're alive.
Oh, that's so cute. It's
Anyway. Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna call it quits. Thank you guys so much for watching the stream. Take care. Later.